Teresa, when are you ever going to leave this house? It's quite embarrassing to have a shut-in NEET around here. Have you planned your move yet? I'll be out of here by today. I can't stand the sight of you, Lenny, anyway, I replied. It was clear to anyone that Lenny, my sister-in-law who ridiculed me with a smirk, was trying to take over our house. However, there was a reason I decided to move out and let her have it. I had a firm belief that Lenny would not be able to live in this house for long. My name is Teresa, and I live with my parents and Lenny, my brother's wife. My brother was assigned to work overseas shortly after getting married, and Lenny firmly refused to live abroad. So she ended up living in our house shamelessly, despite being in the so-called newlywed stage and living separately from my brother. I remember well the day Lenny came to our house. She brought a lot of luggage with her and said without any remorse, "Edwin has gone overseas, so his room is vacant, right? I've decided to live there." My parents and I were baffled when Lenny showed up without any prior discussion. When we called my brother to ask for an explanation, he was also surprised by Lenny's actions. Though my brother, who had just been assigned overseas, did respond, it was ultimately up to my parents and me, who were in direct contact with Lenny, to have the discussion. After getting married, Lenny was supposed to live in the house where my brother lived alone. However, when we asked why she suddenly came to our house, Lenny said the room was too small. I had been to my brother's room, and it didn't seem too small, but Lenny had already unilaterally terminated the lease of my brother's room. Since her parents lived far away and our house was conveniently located for her to get to work, she insisted on living in our house. Naturally, my parents were angry about Lenny's outrageous behavior, but Lenny was smart. Edwin has gone overseas and I'm lonely too. Of course, I plan to contribute financially since I'll be living here. I'll also do my best with housework, so please let me stay in this house, Lenny pleaded. My parents couldn't refuse. I think one of the reasons my parents couldn't strongly reject Lenny was for my brother's sake. My parents didn't seem to mind living with Lenny, even though it had started suddenly. They were angry about her coming without any discussion, but Lenny was doing housework, as she said, going to work, and paying rent to my parents. However, I was nothing but dissatisfied. For some reason, Lenny had made me her enemy. "Oh, Teresa, you're as unattractive as ever today," she said as soon as she saw me when I came out of my room in the morning. I don't think my face is attractive at all, but I was naturally surprised when she suddenly said such a thing. "Teresa, aren't you ashamed to be a shut-in all the time? Edwin is so respectable, going on an overseas assignment, and my in-laws have earned enough to live in such a large house, while you, Teresa, are just a NET playing at home all the time. I would be too ashamed to stay in such a house if I were you." Today, my parents were at work, and Lenny seemed to be off. Is she assuming I won't tell our parents about her nasty words? No need to feel embarrassed. I'm not an NET, I answered, laughing internally at her absurdity. Sure, my job requires me to be at home a lot, but that doesn't mean I don't work. When is Teresa ever going to leave this house? It's quite embarrassing to have a shut-in NET around. Have you planned your move yet? I'll be out of here by today. I can't stand the sight of you, Lenny, anyway, I replied, my voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. Lenny, my sister-in-law, ridiculed me with a smirk. It was clear she was trying to take over our house. However, I had a reason for moving out and letting her have it. I firmly believed that Lenny wouldn't last long in this house. My name is Teresa, and I live with my parents and Lenny, my brother's wife. Shortly after they married, my brother was assigned to work overseas, and Lenny refused to join him. So she shamelessly moved into our house, despite being newlyweds. I remember well the day Lenny arrived. She brought a lot of luggage and said, "Edwin has gone overseas, so his room is vacant, right? I've decided to live there." My parents and I were baffled by her audacity. When we called my brother for an explanation, he was just as surprised. Ultimately, it was up to my parents and me to deal with Lenny directly. Lenny was supposed to live in the house my brother had rented, but she claimed it was too small and unilaterally terminated the lease. Since her parents lived far away and our house was conveniently located for her job, she insisted on moving in with us. Naturally, my parents were angry about Lenny's outrageous behavior, but Lenny was clever. "Edwin is overseas and I'm lonely. I'll contribute financially and help with housework. Please let me stay," she pleaded. For my brother's sake, my parents couldn't refuse her. While my parents didn't mind Lenny staying, I was dissatisfied. Lenny had made me her enemy for some unknown reason. "Oh, Teresa, you're as unattractive as ever today," she said as soon as she saw me that morning. Her words stung, but I managed to keep my composure. "Teresa, aren't you ashamed to be a shut-in all the time? Edwin is on an overseas assignment, and my in-laws have earned enough to live in this large house, while you, Teresa, are just a NET playing at home. I'd be too ashamed to stay here if I were you." My parents were at work, and Lenny was off. Did she think I wouldn't tell our parents about her nasty words? "I'm not at NET," I replied, laughing internally at her absurdity. My sincere answer triggered a burst of laughter from Lenny. "Oh, come on, Teresa. Your brother's a successful man, and I work for a prestigious company. Even your parents are respected employees. I understand you might feel inferior, but there's no need to lie." "I'm not lying. I'm an influencer," I retorted. "An influencer? Please stop making me laugh. As if someone as plain as you could be an influencer. That's a job for gorgeous models," she scoffed, brushing her elegantly curled hair off her shoulder and ignoring my protests as she shoved past me. As she strode away, a heavy cloud of her perfume lingered in the air. "When will you finally move out, Teresa? It's so embarrassing to have a shut-in NET in the house. Have you found a new place yet?" She stopped mid-stride, turning around with a malicious grin. "I'll give you an allowance, Teresa. You must be in dire need of money, right? It's only fair for all the housework you do." Laughing softly, she pulled a few $10 bills from her wallet and threw them onto the floor. "Well, see you," she said, leaving the house. Her dismissive attitude got under my skin. I was frustrated with Lenny and disappointed with my brother's lack of discernment. Did they really think I would stay silent after such provocation? Lenny might have seen me as a quiet and meek sister-in-law, but I wasn't the type to just sit back and take it. I picked up the strewn money, opened the door to Lenny's room without her permission, and threw it inside. She had a lot of nerve acting so high and mighty over a few tens of dollars. Luckily for me, I wasn't strapped for cash. I had planned to relax today, but now I had other plans. After tidying up and finishing my work, I started packing. I couldn't stand living under the same roof as Lenny any longer. I decided to move in with my boyfriend, Nathan. We'd been discussing marriage, and he was understanding when I explained the situation. Meanwhile, I made a call to a certain place in the morning. Lenny had always looked down on me from the moment she came to greet us as a prospective wife. She probably needed to assert her dominance over someone to feel alive. By the time I finished my tasks, my parents returned home. I didn't mention anything about Lenny, choosing instead to join them for dinner, a meal I had prepared. Lenny, who claimed to be out with friends, hadn't returned yet and wouldn't be home for dinner. I decided not to tell my parents about Lenny's behavior just yet, waiting for the right moment. Lenny was in for a surprise, and I planned to hit her with it at the worst possible moment. "I'm moving in with Nathan starting today. I'll be out of here by tonight," I announced. "That's quite sudden. Nathan's okay with it?" my parents asked. "Yep," he agreed, "and we're thinking about getting married soon." "Well, as long as it's fine by him. Just make sure to let him know we said hi." I broke the news to my worried parents, finished washing the dishes with my melancholic mom, and then picked up my packed belongings and headed out of my room. Right on cue, there stood Lenny, dolled up in heavy makeup. Lenny's grin stretched across her face as if she had spotted her prey. "When will you finally leave this house, Teresa? It's so embarrassing to have a shut-in NET like you around. Is your moving day coming soon?" "I'll be gone today. Trust me, I'm as eager to get away from you as you are to see me gone," I replied directly. Lenny's expression twisted in response to my words. She glared at me, her ugly face a sight to behold. No offense to my brother, but I could do without a sister-in-law like her. The next time we'd meet, I'd be ready to serve her a dose of revenge. "Well, excuse me then," I said, bidding Lenny farewell. I said goodbye to my parents, who were relaxing in front of the television downstairs, and left the house. Nathan had told me I probably wouldn't need to deal with Lenny again, but I loved my brother and couldn't just stand by knowing he was being duped by her. "Thanks for your concern, but Lenny needs to be completely ousted from our house," I told him. A few days after I left home, I got a call from Mom. "You gave us such a shock by suddenly sending that letter. Just come home and explain. We've already informed your brother," she said, "but he can't make it back right away, so we'll video call him. We've also asked Lenny to take off from work, so hurry back," my mom said over the phone. "Okay," I responded. After texting Nathan that I was heading to my parents' house, I left. When I arrived at the family house after several days, the tension was palpable. As I approached the living room, Lenny's cries became louder. When I opened the door, Lenny was hunched over in front of my parents, seated on the sofa. I could feel her glaring at me. Teresa, this is terrible. Why would you send these pictures? Lenny pointed to a series of photos sprawled across the coffee table. They showed Lenny with various men in different locations, some with arms linked, hands held, and other intimate poses. The sender, as Lenny indicated, was, of course, me. Private investigators can be quite useful, I thought. The morning I left home, I had contacted a private investigator to check if my sister-in-law was cheating, transferred the money, and that was it. From just that, such indisputable evidence was procured. You're the terrible one. What do you mean by doing whatever you want just because I'm not there? My brother, connected via video call, shouted. His face on the screen was beet red from anger. Lenny cried out to my brother, but I was lonely. You always travel abroad even though we're newlyweds. Edwin, you left me alone. You're the one at fault. I could feel the anger radiating from my parents' faces, but I calmly stated, you're right, the fault lies with my brother. Lenny's expression turned to one of disbelief as she looked at me. I leveled my gaze at her, allowing no warmth to seep through. The real problem is my brother's lack of judgment in choosing a woman like you. Lenny, taken aback by my words, leaned toward me, fuming. What? You've got some nerve, you hideous shut-in, telling me such things. All this chaos, it's your fault. Despite the presence of my parents and brother, Lenny couldn't hold back her true colors. Realizing what she had just blurted out, her hand flew to her mouth. But it was too late. My parents and brother were taken aback, but I just flatly declared, Lenny is always like this. Lenny thinks of me as an ugly shut-in. She played the nice girl in front of everyone else, but she cheats and doesn't hesitate to be abusive to anyone she perceives as beneath her. My brother is also at fault for choosing to marry such a person. I was just stating the truth. After all, Teresa is a shut-in, not an influencer. That's just a lie, right? Lenny's brazen defiance was met with a sigh from my mom. I had no idea that Lenny was like this. Yes, Teresa spends a lot of time at home, but she's not a shut-in. She's a real influencer, Mom said. As Lenny gasped in surprise, I shared the name I use for my influencer activities. I suggested she look it up on her mobile phone, and she hurriedly began her search. Upon seeing the search results, a flustered Lenny looked back and forth between me and her phone. Then, with an expression of disbelief, she pointed at me. Really? Teresa is this person? Yep. Makeup is like magic, isn't it? I'm a beauty influencer. Born with a nondescript face, I use makeup to transform it, creating countless videos of my makeovers and posting them online. I sometimes receive requests from cosmetic companies to advertise their products in my videos. Thankfully, I have a large fan base, and when people think of beauty influencers, my name is often one that comes to mind. This house was built with the money Teresa earned, my mom added. This house, Letty gasped in response. I guess it's hard to believe that someone like me could have built a house in such a prime location so close to the station. As Lenny stood there dumbfounded, the doorbell rang. Wondering who could be visiting at such an hour, I walked to the door and opened it. I was the only one standing when the doorbell rang. A familiar voice called out, "Can I come in?" "Yeah, sure," I responded, and Nathan stepped inside. Seeing him walk through the living room door, Lenny recoiled. "What? Why is Nathan here?" "Oh, you must be the sister-in-law I've heard about. It's nice to know you recognize me." "Thank you," Nathan replied, his radiant smile lighting up the room. He had been an actor since childhood, and we met at a social gathering for content creators, hitting it off right away. Nathan and I had been in a relationship for several years, but we kept it a secret. Upon Nathan's appearance, it seemed that Lenny finally believed I was an influencer. Lenny weakly murmured, "No way." From the other side of the screen, my brother told her, "This isn't the time for you to be upset about that." Things quickly spiraled from there. My brother declared to Lenny that he would demand a settlement and file for divorce. He was going to take a break and return to the U.S., and until then, he instructed Lenny to wait. With Lenny's parents living far away, she had to stay at our house until my brother returned. Our parents looked at Lenny as if she were something disgusting, making it clear that the days until my brother's return would be harsh and painful for her. Once we confirmed that my brother had escaped a woman like Lenny, Nathan and I decided to head home. On the drive back, I asked Nathan, "Why did you come with me?" He replied, I didn't want my future wife, Teresa, to be mistreated. I found myself smiling at Nathan's kindness. My brother returned to the States 2 weeks later. During that time, Lenny had apparently taken leave and locked herself in her room while drafting the divorce papers. She was said to be crying, I love Edwin the most. But my brother didn't waver at all. After the divorce was finalized, Lenny began living alone, but the men who used to entertain her wouldn't associate with her anymore. Due to the shock of the divorce and her subsequent weight loss, Lenny, unable to receive help from anyone, repeatedly called my brother, but he blocked her calls. Furthermore, he went abroad again, leaving Lenny with no one to rely on. She quit her job and returned to her parents' home. Ironically, the woman who used to mock shut-ins had become one herself. Since then, my brother has been careful about his relationships with women. He met a wonderful woman abroad and married her. The new sister-in-law, a brave woman with beautiful blonde hair, is learning English so that she can communicate with me and our parents. In time, Nathan and I also got married. Our wedding made the news, and the marriage of Nathan, who had been beloved since his childhood acting days, was celebrated. I was accepted by the public as Nathan's wife. Now that everything is resolved and peaceful, my family and I are living happily.